And it came to be, as they journeyed on the way, that someone said to him, Master, I shall follow you wherever you go. And Yeshua, knowing that this was a lot of strong talk, but was there going to be any walk to, it said, the foxes have holes and the birds of the heaven have nests, but the Son of Adam has nowhere to lay his head. Now, I'm not really sure how that fits into the rest of this part of the verse here, but I think what he's saying is, you know, everybody talks good, but do they really want to make a place for me? I'm going to guess that that's kind of where he's going with this, is that in order to follow me, you have to actually make a place for me in your life. Does that kind of work for you as a possibility here? In other words, you have to allow me to lay my head or to reside somewhere. By laying your head, it kind of, in those days, would mean someplace like a place you would dwell or live or stay. So for him to stay with you, and he likes to use those metaphors because you see that in John when he talks in John about those who stay in me, if you stay in me, and if you don't stay in me, this idea of staying. So when he's talking about here, I think with the foxes have holes and the birds of the heaven have nests, is the idea that if you want him to stay with you, you got to provide him a place to lay his head. Oh no, I really want to do it, but I got this other thing first. What is that saying? You're saying that you have something that you believe is more important. You've put a priority on something. You've elevated something higher than him. Because he said, follow me. And the response to follow me was, well, I've got a few things to do first. And do any of us have that still? Do we have that problem? Is that one of our attitudinal problems? Do we have this attitude of, well, I really do want to do all this stuff, but, I don't know. You know, does that really work? Is that really what we're supposed to be doing? He says here in the next verse, verse 61, he says, and another also said, Master, I shall follow you, but let me go first say goodbye to those in my house. Now, if it really was just a matter of just going and saying goodbye, I don't think Yeshua would have had a problem with that. But he understood that they were not ready to leave the house. They were not ready to make the cut and to go do. And so he said, well, let me first say goodbye to my house. So what does Yeshua say to that person? He says, no one having put his hand to the plow and looking back is fit for the reign of Elohim. So Yeshua understood this person was still looking back. Remember we talked, I think in the last part, we talked about Lot's wife and how she looked back. Why was she looking back? Because there was still stuff going on back there that she was connected to, that she hadn't let go of, that she had emotional ties to. And so here are people talking about very serious emotional ties. My father's dying, that's a pretty emotional tie. My family is a strong emotional tie. He's trying to tell you there's no level of excuse. Is that not what he's saying here? He's saying there's no level of understanding here where you can say, but, because he took it to the extreme. He took it to the extreme and said, look, not even your dying parent is an excuse not to be following me. Not even your family is an excuse not to follow me. Wow, that's strong and how serious this is. But what's at stake here? Eternal life with him. So why are we looking back? Why are we looking back thinking, oh, but it was, don't have all those feelings. Oh, but it was good, it was this, it was that, I missed that. Why? You moving forward. You were hand-selected to move forward by the King of the universe. You were hand-selected to move forward. How much value do you put on that? How much weight do you put on that? How much do you care about that? But I still kind of like to be over here too. Guess what? That's that lukewarm thing we started talking about way towards the beginning of this. You can't be sitting on both sides of the fence. You can't have it both ways. It never works. So right now we're practicing for the kingdom. Do you understand that? Yes. Okay, you're practicing for the kingdom, so how you do it now is how you're going to do it then. This is what the Father's watching you do. He knows as he's watching you, I guess if that's the way he's going to act now, that's the way he's going to act in forever. Now that could be good or bad. If you're doing things right, he's going to say, okay, that's the way he's doing it now, I can trust he'll do that in forever. Or he'll look disappointed going, well, I guess if he's going to act like that now, he's going to probably act like that in the forever. And just think about your Father watching you. You know, we're a little bit past 1984. which is kind of funny to read books now that are actually getting really far away. I mean, that's already 30 years ago. Okay, but we're past 1984. But in 1984, the book about Big Brother watching you, Big Brother is watching you. And don't forget about government surveillance and all that conspiracy theory stuff. Your big brother, Yeshua, is watching everything you do. Your big brother is watching you. And so there's times when he's looking down going, they're not ready. And there's other times when he's looking at you going, excellent, good job. I'm proud of you. I'm pleased. And this is a big part of the problem, is that we're not as aware as we need to be that we are being watched by the Creator and His Son, who are looking down at us and going, are they ready for this? Are they justifying their coming in? Have they qualified? Are they worthy? Use all the, are they fit? Those who had this idea born into them or birthed in them those are the ones who are called the children of Elohim. When we love Elohim and guard His commands. So this is how we know that we love the children of Elohim. That when we love Him and guard His commands. Because, by the way, one of His commands is to love each other. Love your neighbor as yourself. Half the commands of the 10 Commandments are telling you how to love each other. It's not so much about Him when you don't murder. It's not so much about Him when you don't commit adultery. It's not so much about Him when you don't bear false witness. It's about you loving each other. It's definitely about Him when you have no other gods before His face. When you don't have idolatry. When you're not doing something to make His name mean nothing. That's really all about Him. The other ones are really about showing that we love each other the way He wants us to love each other. If they knew they were doing it right, they wouldn't even talk about it. Think about it. If you're doing something and you know you're doing it right, why would you even bring it up? But you bring it up because you're looking for others to say they're doing it too, to make you feel better that you're right, even though you know you're not. Deep down, you know you're wrong. Otherwise, why would you need to convince everybody else that what you did was right? Nobody else is bringing the subject up but you. You're the one initiating those conversations. You're the one starting that whole process. Why? Because you're trying to figure, you've lied to yourself and said, if I can ask enough people who say that what I did was right, I'll believe it too and it's okay. That's sort of like mob mentality, mob rule. I mean, is the majority usually right about anything? No. I used to trade commodities and stocks. I was a broker. I can promise you, when everybody's convinced the market's going one way, start going the other way. The group is always wrong. And the more high percentage everybody's convinced, the more likely they're wrong. I'm just telling you that. Not in everything in life, but just about. I'm just saying because I'm sure there's exceptions somewhere. But I promise you, by the time everybody's convinced that the market's going up, 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 and they all start to jump in, now it's going to crash. Because the last one in ends up losing because they missed it, because it took too long to make up their minds. The market generally goes the other way. Same thing with people. Same thing with people. If you're confident that everything, all the things in life that you're doing, that you know are right, that you feel that you're doing right, that you're in line with Him, you don't talk about them all the time unless someone asks you about it. You're not the one bringing up the subject because you already know. Is that fair, what I'm saying? So think about the conversations you're having with people, and if you find that there's people running around asking everybody a particular thing, realize they're struggling. And maybe they need someone to talk to them in a respectful way, but in an open and honest enough way to say, I'm getting the sense that you might be struggling with this. Please don't get offended, but I'm here to talk to you about it. Because there's a struggle, which is why they're trying to justify it. They're trying to convince themselves that what they did is right, or what they want to do is right, or what they're going to do is right, in case they haven't done it yet, by going and finding and convincing others that it's right before they do it, so that they're not doing it by themselves. But if you use the mirror of the Torah, which he calls freedom, that of freedom, and continue in it. This goes again to that once saved, always saved issue. Okay, there's no such thing. Go listen to the teaching called Are You Saved? He says, look, you have to look into it, start embracing it, and you have to continue in it till when? Till the end. Are you at the end yet? I know what people think is end times, but are you at the end yet? No. So here's James saying the same thing. He's saying, look, and continue in it. In what? In looking at the perfect Torah of that of freedom, and continue in it. It what? The Torah. Keep in that. Not becoming a hearer that forgets, but a doer of the work. What work? The works of Torah. He wants you to continue in doing the works of Torah. Not as a hearer who forgets, but a doer of the work. This one, who? The one who's continuing and doing and not forgetting. This one which shall be blessed in his doing of the Torah. For as the body without spirit is dead, so also belief is dead without the works. So don't let anybody shake your tree because you want to do works. What did Yeshua say? He said, my Father works, I work, you need to work. Everybody works. As a matter of fact, we're told 6 days we have for that. 6 days you shall work. He expects us to do the works. What works? The works of Elohim. So we have to understand what those works are. And that's why we have these teachings, and that's why we have this book. So we can read the scripture, and he tells us what he expects us to do. As we're going through this, there's a lot to overcome. But we've talked about it over and over again during this teaching series because the reward is so great. The greater the reward, the greater that's what's demanded of you. The greater the reward, the greater the demand on you. Let's face it, and I don't want to offend anybody, but is it very demanding for somebody to work at a fast food place that when someone orders fries to push the thing that looks like fries? Okay, is that demanding? Does it take a lot of brain power, effort power, anything? And again, please, if you have that job, I'm not offending you. But I'm saying is, but what about the person that's doing your taxes? That person doing your taxes has to know math. They have to know accounting. They have to know the tax law. There's a lot more demand on them, right? Okay? So who gets paid more, the accountant or the person at the fast food place? The accountant. Why? Because there's more demand on them. You see? You're wanting the greatest thing that has ever been offered anyone. It's greater than accounting, greater than a doctor, greater than a lawyer, greater than anything. More than Bill Gates, more than Warren Buffett, doesn't matter. It's the greatest thing. Guess what? It's going to have a lot demand of you. But it's not something you can't do. The demand on you is something every one of you can do. Maybe not every one of you could be a brain surgeon or a rocket scientist or whatever, but every one of you can get yourself into the kingdom with the help of the Father. When I say get yourself, meaning you have to do those works that you have to do. Following Him, trusting in Him, allowing Him to lead you, let Him hold your hand, but you can do it.